The moment the thought takes root in your head, I'm gonna build myself a pickup truck, there's an almost irresistible urge to just pick up the sawzall and start cutting. But unless the car was also designed as a convertible, that doesn't usually turn out so well. The key to success is twofold. 1. Plan where to cut, and 2. Plan how to brace. So first of all, I stripped out the interior to see what might be in the path of the blade, and I quickly discovered that the seatbelt run would define the cut and hence also the plane of the new rear wall of the cabin. Using a 3-axis construction laser to keep things symmetric across the two sides of the car, I plotted the cut behind of and parallel to the seatbelt and leading straight up to the top of the B-pillar. And now you ask, how did I figure out what kind of tubing to use, what size of tubing to use, and what geometry would work? Being a mechanical engineer by profession, I should be telling you that I ran rigorous structural analysis on a 3D model and then sized the tubes for a safety factor of 2. But then I would be lying. Instead, I have to say that I drew a free body diagram on the back of a napkin and roughly worked out the load paths. In which case I still would be lying. You see, the point of this project was to make a truck by the seat of my pants so that it'd be fun and not feel like my 9-to-7 job. I had my mind set on having a clean, notched look without any external braces, and so I simply used my engineering gut and figured 12-gauge mild steel tube and plate would be plenty strong. It will also be cheap and easy to weld, so that's what I went with. Welding a thin car body to thick tubes is tough, so I started by making plates that I could weld easily too, and bolting them in strategic locations through the use of riv nuts installed into the car body. I made a lower crossbody brace and led 2 small braces to the lower part of each wheel arch. Adding a second crossbody brace above that, I made a ladder frame that also defined the new cabin rear wall, and started to run braces to the tops of the shock towers. After removing the rear glass and parcel shelf to get better access, I completed the welding of the shock tower mounting plates. This essentially formed a multi-point strut tower brace to resist twisting. The final bit of structural strengthening was a roll hoop, joining the ladder frame to the roof at the top of the B-pillars. This completed the load path leading from the rear wheel arches up into the roof to resist buckling. And as it turned out, the sawzall gap did not close at all when I completed the cut at the base of the C-pillar, which meant I could then cut the entire rear of the roof off with no fear of the car breaking. And with that, the new structure and major cuts were done, but ahead lay the huge task of covering everything up with fresh sheet metal and making it look like it came from the factory. That will be the subject of at least the next video. But in the meantime, as I hinted in episode 0, I have massive news. The Prelude is headed to SEMA, and this, my friends, is a bucket list item come true. When I started this project 2 years ago, I didn't even know what SEMA was about, and after attending the show last year, I decided to pull out the stops to have a shot at getting there. So a big shout out to Yellow Speed Racing, who sponsored my Big Brake Kit, and my air struts, who are bringing the car there as their feature vehicle, as well as AccuAir, my second sponsor, who are responsible for the beating heart of my air ride system with the Endo CVT, with the compressor, valves, and tank in one sweet package, which makes for a really clean install. So what does this mean for my builds and the channel? Well, since there will be a bit of work to do on the Prelude to prep for SEMA, and I'll need to preserve it in the garage as NorCal enters our cold and wet season, work on the Boxster will have to wait a little. The good news is that because I really want people at the show to be able to dig deeper and see how I built the truck and how I use it, I'm aiming to release a good number of videos on the Prelude between now and then. In the meantime, as always, I appreciate you watching and subscribing to my videos and telling your friends where this channel is headed, which is SEMA, baby! This is Deviant Customs, over and out.